If I conferred with our furry friends, man to animal, think of the amazing repartee. If I could walk with the animals, talk with the animals, grunt and squeak and squawk with the animals, and they could talk to me.
Hello and welcome to Pet Watch, a monthly program about the Williamson County Animal Center. I'm Debbie Sims, and my special guest today is Patrick Lomantini.
Yes.
Is that right?
You did it.
I did it. Patrick is here to talk about BarkAID, and I have to tell a funny story about how we met.
Yeah.
I was at lunch, and I saw this van that had pictures of dogs on it and hair cutting scissors, and it said Lomantini, and it said BarkAID, and I thought, oh, I work at the shelter. What is that van? And so that's how we met.
Yes,
And,
yes.
Yeah. So what is BarkAID?
Well, BarkAID started because, going back a little bit, I love hairstyling. I'm a hairstylist and I'm a barber, and I've always wanted to do that since I was young, but life got in the way. And so I kind of went on and did what I was supposed to do, went to college and married and kids and all that fun stuff. And I got to a point in my early 30s where I was just like not living the life I wanted to live, and I finally became a hairstylist. And when I did, I just felt like it needed to mean something. I just felt like there was something missing from it. I loved what I did, but I didn't know the purpose of it all. So I stumbled across an idea of doing hair events, and giving the money away to animal rescue. And it all started in Wichita, Kansas, where I'm from. And about 7 years ago, I did this cut-a-thon of cutting hair for 72 hours. And I reached out to the Kansas Humane Society, and they jumped on board, and it was just an amazing event. I ended up doing 224 haircuts and raised about $2,000, and it was all for the animals. And it just, that's how it started. And I've always been mesmerized by Willie Nelson's BarkAID, how he can bring so many people together for such a great cause. And I thought the name BarkAID, and I loved dogs and what I was doing, and so BarkAID was born. And so BarkAID is a nonprofit registered out of the state of Kansas. It's a 501c3. We've been on the road and traveling all over North America for the past 7 years, putting on hair events and partnering with local animal rescues and shelters like yours. And that's it. There you go.
Well,
so the van, I'm sorry.
Yeah,
So,
the van.
so the van and how that all started. So as I continued to build the relationships in Las Vegas, the group that we worked there, they're also partnered with a graphics company, and they reached out to me and said, we'd love to put a van graphics together for you. And so I've been driving that van all over North America for the past 4 years, and it gets a lot of attention, and it builds a lot of relationships.
People in Franklin have probably seen it a lot because
yes.
you kind of relocated yourself here now.
Yeah, I moved here about 4 months ago. I cut hair at a barbershop, Classic Sports Barbershop, downtown Franklin, and it's always parked right there on the corner, so it's getting recognized in the city of Franklin.
It is an eye-catching van, and people will wonder what it is, and that's the whole purpose of it.
But that is the purpose, and it is a great conversation piece. It gets a lot of attention. I get asked all the time if I'm a dog groomer, if I have dogs in the van, or exactly what it all means. So it's a great way to start the conversation about it, and it's fun. Yeah.
Well, you're not the first person that combined their profession with the love of dogs and tried to benefit others. I mean, there are plenty of groups around that try to do that. But let's go back to the 72 hours of haircuts in Kansas City. Okay, is that like a world record?
Well, we did, and it is a record. You can look it up. I approached Guinness with the whole idea of it. The problem with Guinness is they want money.
Oh, yeah.
And it was
it's not easy.
It's not well. They want money, and they want all these verifications and fly somebody out to verify it. I'm like, this is a charity event, and I don't feel like spending the money to get it verified. But Guinness is just one. We live in such a viral world. I'm pretty sure you can Google it, and no one else has done it.
Yeah, I don't think Guinness is quite as important for their annual book as they used to be with the internet.
Yeah, but the key to that whole event was the fact that it was about something more than me. Because when I first started doing the 72-hour cut-a-thon, it was all about me trying to set this record and me trying to set this path for myself, and I was struggling with it. I was, and it wasn't until my friends told me that I needed to make it about something more than me. And they knew I loved animals, and that's when I reached out to the Kansas Humane Society, and it all changed because it wasn't about me, it was about something else.
There are not too many traveling hairstylists like you, barbers or hairstylists across the country that touch as many cities as you do because you've created relationships in different cities across the country. And do you go back and visit those places that you've been before? Or?
It's like any other relationship, friends or personal relationship, business relationships. Some work out, some don't. We were in 90 cities last year across the country, and I was on the road for 5.5 months. And some were just fantastic, and the relationships clicked really well. And some, they're just immediate. It's one of those things you just gotta try and help as many as you can, but you can't help everyone.
Right, right.
So.
Now, were you attempting to do 50 states in?
We did that. After I did the 72-hour cut-a-thon, I wanted to outdo myself again. And so my friend Brian Gallagher, who was my roommate at the time, we were on the front porch having a few beers and trying to think of ways I could outdo myself. And the original thought really was, if I could do what I did in Wichita, Kansas, I should be able to do it anywhere. And so that's when we came up with this idea of doing 50 haircuts in each of the 50 states and doing it in 50 days. So the challenge went to Brian. I said, Brian, if you can figure out how to do this, how to get me to 50 states in 50 days and allow me to cut 50 haircuts each day, then I'll do it. So he did it in about 10 days. He did some research on people that were retired or traveled the country, bicyclists and all this stuff. And he stuck with capitals. And he started on the East Coast in Augusta, Maine, and we worked our way down the East Coast, Southeast, to Midwest, Denver, Hawaii, Alaska, West Coast, Southwest, back home. He figured out how to do it, and I was doing it. So I was obsessed with it. I spent 9 months connecting the dots and calling places and Googling Augusta, Maine, and looking for animal rescues and shelters, and then finding hair salons that would want to connect with us. And everything seems to happen for a reason, because if I had not done the 72-hour thing, no one would have listened to me about this. And it was one of those steps that just allowed it to happen. And by the grace of God, I pulled it off. No one really thought I could do 72 hours, and I pulled it off. And then this 50 states in 50 days, that's when people were kind of like, is it really possible?
Yeah, that sounds crazy.
But each day, thank God for Facebook, because each day when you post your pictures, it says where you are. So one day I'm in Denver, the next day I'm in Hawaii, and the next day I'm in Alaska. We did that 3 years in a row. And then it got to a point where the demand grew. People wanted the event. And so it was impossible to continue doing 50 states in 50 days. Plus, it was wearing me out. And so we expanded. That fourth year, we did 55 cities. Then that fifth year, we did 70. And then sixth, we did 90. So, we just but we kind of scaled back. We wanted to be more effective in those relationships. So we scaled back, and I think this year we're like 40 cities this year. And I'm excited to be here because I fell in love with Franklin. Franklin is amazing, let alone the girl.
It's easy.
It's a wonderful city, and I'm glad I reached out to you guys. Well, I didn't reach out. You reached out to me, ran into me at the parking lot, and so, it's a neat like that.
What sparked you with homeless animals? Did you have a pet in your
it's
life
interesting.
that changed your life, or?
I didn't grow up around, I grew up in Kansas, and the animals there were kind of just like, I remember as a kid visiting my grandpa, I'd have to go, my job was to go out and spray out the runs. They had the bird dogs out there. So I'm spraying the cages of poop out, and I'm like, so the dogs were always in cages when I was a kid, and so it never really hit me until later in life. I mean, and I was in some relationships and had some friends that had dogs, and I had an opportunity to kind of really see that interaction, and it just really hit me. So it was later in life.
When you get a picture in your mind of how many animals are homeless and how many are in shelters, it does change you. And many of our greatest volunteers didn't even have dogs or cats as children. And they are completely opposite the way their family thought of animals and what the animal's purpose was in their life. And of course, farm life is different than city life and whatever. So it is different, and it's a passion that a lot of people have.
I agree.
So do you always do a haircutting event? Is that the
When we first started, it was all about the haircuts. It was about that interaction and about Patrick doing hair and coming to your city and getting the salon involved. But then we realized after 3 years that we were limited because I can only cut so many haircuts. And so we've turned it into more of an event. Of course, the haircuts are the backbone because that's really where the interaction is amazing, because you're getting in touch with the person, you're spending 15, 20, 30 minutes with them, you're changing their life, you're very personable, you're making them feel good, look good, and they realize that the money that they're spending is going to help save an animal or for a great cause. And that's the backbone. But then we've turned it into more of an event for the community and try and encourage other vendors and people to come.
Well, plus everybody that's there for the haircut shares your passion for homeless animals or shelter animals.
Right.
So
very rarely do you get, it happened to me one time in Baltimore, Maryland, where a gal came in and got her haircut, and she goes, "I just wanted a good haircut. I don't even like animals."
That's okay.
It's okay.
That's okay. We'll take her donation as well.
Exactly.
So you've developed this relationship with Classic Sports Barbershop, which is in downtown Franklin. And the best way to describe it is behind Sweet CC's, which everybody knows, the yogurt shop. Yeah. So there's a parking lot back there, and that's where the entrance to Classic, you can see it. So it's not right on the front strip. It's sort of behind CC's.
Right.
Now, how many chairs are in there, and what kind of clientele do they serve?
It's a barber shop, so I would say 90% is male. But as a hairstylist, we can also do women's hair as well. And it's basically what we do is do basic haircuts. It's nothing like too crazy, and while we're trying to serve as many people as possible on the event day. But we have 5 chairs. We have everybody is fantastic barbers. Tony Steele has been a barber for 30 years. And he runs the barbershop. It's been there 10 years. It's got a fantastic location. It's really accessible and easy to get to, right across basically from Starbucks.
The side of Starbucks.
Yeah, the side of Starbucks, yeah. So yeah, we can accomplish any haircut. Yeah.
Now, we've planned an event, a BarkAID event here in Franklin for Sunday, October 28th from noon to 4. So it's the day after Pumpkin Fest, which everybody in Franklin knows about. It won't be Pumpkin Fest will be over, so downtown will not be as crowded as it was. However, during Pumpkin Fest, they can see the location and see the signage and know that it's coming the next day, right?
I think that's a fantastic opportunity for us to really expose BarkAID in the event and get it out to as many people as possible. We'll have the signage up, we'll have coming tomorrow or whatever we need to do and pass out some flyers. It's a great location, and that's what I love about downtown Franklin. There's so many people walking around, and it's such a giving community. So I'm pretty excited to bring BarkAID to Franklin and partner with you guys and see what we could do. And it's all about building a relationship for the future and what we can do next year as well.
Now you're at the event. You're asking a $25 donation to the shelter, to our shelter for the haircut.
That's right.
Okay, and you'll take men, women,
and kids.
And kids.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Will they be inside the shop or out in the parking lot?
Well, we'll be doing the haircuts in the shop.
Okay.
And that's what's so beautiful about this little shop in the parking lot. And I'm sure you've seen it, but it's so accessible. And the shop's right there, and the parking lot's right there. We've got there'll be barbecuing going on. We'll have a DJ going on.
Food and music.
Food and music. It'll have
good.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. What else have you got planned?
Well, we've got you, of course, and hopefully we'll have some adoptable babies there and fur babies.
Fur babies. Yeah. I have some kittens I can pull out if I have. Let me tell you.
And some kittens. Oh yeah, let's do that. So no, and we invite. I mean, in fact, I was at MAPCO, and there's a guy there that trains service dogs, and I invited him to come down. Hey, set up a booth.
Yeah.
You know, and tell us about what you do. It's all about the community.
That is a hot topic in the world today.
So everybody's welcome, and that's what it's about. You know, and it's all about servicing you guys and helping you guys out. But it's all about building those relationships, and that's the neat thing about doing what I've done. And I'm proud of myself and proud of BarkAID because, as an example, the group that we work with in Murray, Kentucky, the Callaway County Humane Society, and I work with a group called Gentle Giants in New Jersey, and they specify their specialty is kind of big dogs, especially Great Pyrenees.
Okay.
And 2 baby Great Pyrenees were found abandoned in Murray, Kentucky.
Oh my.
And they reached out to me and asked me if I knew of anybody that could help, and I connected them to New Jersey. They were shipped to New Jersey, and they're both living the life now.
It's similar to the way our shelter works. We get dogs that that seem to be very breed specific and not as mixed breed as most shelter dogs are. If they're an obvious golden retriever, shepherd, Jack Russell, there are all these rescue groups around that we can work with.
That's
and
awesome.
Senior dog sanctuaries and things like that. And we've sent our dogs to Maine. So
that's fantastic.
I mean, in areas of the country where they actually don't have a lot of shelter dogs, which is hard to believe.
Isn't that amazing?
When I'm trying to get, 80 cats and 55 dogs adopted right today.
Yeah.
We're full.
That blew my mind in Burlington, Vermont. I went to the shelter and I said, "Where's your dogs?" "Well, we don't have any."
Yeah.
They're
They
all
don't have
adopted.
any.
Yeah.
They have mandatory spay-neuter laws in some of those states, and that's
Yeah.
why. And so they need shelter dogs. And we've sent transports to different
I love that.
different states and cities, and the adoption rate is much higher because the demand is great and the supply is low there.
Yeah.
So it's a different world. We do the best we can in our world,
Right.
Which we have a lot of animals that are still unwanted and unexpected in this area. So every show I do, I try to stress, please spay neuter these animals,
Yeah.
even if they're not yours.
Yeah, there's still a lot of people that need to be educated better about that, understand that. They feel like, I don't want to take that away from my dog, but what you're doing
No.
is hurting your dog more than you realize.
And we
so.
also have the other problem we have with cats is people start feeding them. And they don't, when you feed them, you really need to take responsibility for their entire health because they sort of become yours if you're the food supplier. So the $25 donation for the haircut, what is a dry cut? Is that?
Well, dry cut's been around for a long time, but I had to adopt learning how to do a dry cut because I was doing so many haircuts in one day, didn't have time to wash and blow dry and all that kind of stuff. And actually, dry cut benefits, there's three main benefits. Number one, it's quicker, you see immediate results. Number two, it's healthier for your hair because you're not taking it through the process of washing, getting it wet, stretching it, and then blow drying it in the heat and all of that. And you just save a lot of time. So the dry cut basically, as a barber shop, that's what a dry cut, if you've ever been to a barber shop, basically you're getting a dry cut. We spray it with water, but we do have a wash machine, a wash sink there, so we can wash and dry if we need to. But the dry cut simply is just.
I think men are used to.
Yeah.
Men and children are used to dry cuts.
Sure.
I think it's the women that would have to be educated on it. And I watched a video, one of your videos, and it was very interesting because you can see what the end result is right there. Because when your hair is wet and somebody's pulling it up and cutting it, you're not getting it. And then they're going to style it later.
Right.
And you're like, well, how are you going to style it? What's it going to look like?
And a lot of my clients are professional women, and they come in on their lunch hour or they swing by after work. And in dry cutting, you're not going to mess up the makeup line. They're in and out quicker. Or they just need a trim. They just need a little freshening up, and you're able to do that without the whole long process of washing and blowing dry. So yeah, it's very popular.
You're not there for 3 hours
Right.
like you are in some salons.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Or the schools. Oh my
I just
gosh.
want to trim, but why is it so much?
Yeah.
And I think that's something that people today are so busy. You don't have 3 hours.
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And $200.
Exactly.
In this community.
Yeah, you're in and out in 15 minutes and you're freshened up. Yeah.
Yeah. That's good, and I think we'll catch there'll be a lot of people in Franklin on a Sunday afternoon because that's one of the most popular corners in the city right there. Now you are encouraging people to make an appointment.
Yes, they can call, and we'll have a schedule there, and they can tell us what time they want to come in. We're accepting walk-ins as well. We're going to be there from 12 to 4, so we're just going to be ready and available for everybody that comes in. So, but yeah, I do encourage to call for appointments because it will get busy.
Okay, so they're already starting to line that up. If you call the Classic Sports Barbershop at 615-595-0094, you can make an appointment, right? And or you put your phone number out there.
So yes, please put it out there.
Okay.
My number is 316-640-4995. Please call us, set up an appointment. If nothing else, come by and just check out everything. It's a fun corner of Franklin. Just meet the barbershop. I tell you what, he's been there 10 years, and there are still people that walk by and say, I didn't know this was back here. It's just hidden just enough.
That's just an education process. And we have people that don't know what the Animal Center does.
Absolutely.
And they've lived here in the county for years. So
that's a great opportunity.
That's okay.
Yeah.
And if you want to come in and watch somebody get a dry cut, you could do that.
Right.
And then you could say, it's for the animals. I think I'll do it.
Right,
And,
absolutely.
I think you'll get a lot of people walking up and wondering exactly what's going on. Now, will there be other stylists everyone in the shop that day will be participating?
Myself, Tony, and I believe 2 other of the stylists will be there as well. We're also reaching out to a couple of other stylists in Franklin to come join us. Some ladies stylists. So so like sometimes a woman will feel a little more comfortable if there's another woman in there cutting hair. So we're going to just try and make everybody feel good.
And those people, they'll also do the dry cuts? They're trained in that?
Sure.
Okay. So you guys, after you get your licenses to be stylists and barbers, you go on to some sort of continuing education and learning new methods?
Yeah, because they don't necessarily teach you dry cutting in school, cosmetology or barber school. It's one of those things that you graduate to and after you understand the basics. So yeah, everybody is very well versed and trained on that, so especially myself.
Do you use a razor? I've heard a lot about razor cuts
Yeah,
lately.
I've avoided it. I think actually, there's a lot of debate about it, but I think razor cuts are more damaging for your hair because you're not cutting you're cutting the hair at an angle, which creates more split ends.
It looks kind of brutal when you watch it. It's kind of, I'm like, wait, that's way too fast for me. It seems drastic,
It creates a lot of texture. I try not to use it, only because I just don't like what it does to the hair. But if someone asks for it, I can certainly give it to them. So.
Yeah. Will there be just the haircut services that day, or does the barbershop do shaves?
Yes, in fact, we they are our barbers, so they can do hot shaves, they can do lineups, they can do designs, they can do bald fades, any kind of
What's a
fading.
lineup?
A lineup is like where you trim the beard real nice and tight clean it up real nice.
So like you touch up, someone has a beard and you clean the appearance up.
We do that quite a bit all day long, where they come in and they just make it real nice and crisp. They call it crispy.
Crispy.
Yeah,
okay.
I need to look crisp.
Your beard looks crisp. I've never heard that. I know so many people.
Crispy.
So many people have the beards.
Well, especially with coarser hair, where they do the lineup around the edges and stuff like that. So make it look real nice and clean. Yeah.
Okay. Can you cut a pattern of a dog in there?
Well, I'm sure they probably could. I'm not good. I stay away from the designs, but Tony is good at designs. So I'm sure he can. I'm sure there'll be, because I know he put a Snoopy in his son's head.
Oh, no.
Yeah. So there was a Snoopy. So I'm pretty sure we can.
Okay. So if you have a kid that's brave, that's on the edgy side, they might want to book Tony and get a Snoopy dog cut into their hair.
Yeah. So set your appointment for your Snoopy design.
Now, what has 2018 been for you? You went over the fact that you tried to do the 50-state travel thing, and that just got to be too much.
Well, we did that for 3 years, right? And we kept expanding it and growing, and because I wanted to be more effective. And one of the biggest complaints, if you want to call it a complaint, was people didn't get a chance to know me. I was there for 12 hours. I was cutting 50 plus haircuts, and every 15 minutes I had someone, and then I had to leave. Yeah. So no, they only got 15 minutes of me, and so the story is compelling, how it got started, and people wanted to spend more time, and I just realized I needed to spend the time in order to build this thing, to build the relationship. So. So 2018, it was great. We've done 36 plus, we're going to be about 40 cities. The finale of the BarkAID tour is in Las Vegas on November 20th at the Paul Mitchell School in Las Vegas. So that'll be a great place to end it and then recoup and then build for next year. So
now, Paul Mitchell, does he has an interest in pets as well as human hair?
That's right. Paul Mitchell, the company, was created by J.P. DeGiorio, who used to be owner of Patron. And he sold that recently for $5 billion.
Well, whatever.
Yeah,
Okay.
He's struggling. Anyway, and Paul Mitchell, rest in peace. He has passed away, but he is the owner now. But Paul Mitchell, their culture is all about giving back and reaching out to communities. And so they have a charity called Peace, Love, and Happiness. And so his wife, Eloisa, is a huge animal lover. So then they created John Paul Pet Products.
John Paul Pet Products. Okay.
Right, John Paul
I think they donated a number of products to us a couple of years ago at the shelter. And they're very high-end, very well-research pet shampoos and conditioners and that kind of thing.
And we'll have that there for you, they're big supporters of BarkAID. I go to all the Paul Mitchell events. We just got back from Las Vegas a few months ago with that. So it's great to have their support and their endorsement and then continue to do what I do,
Yeah, well, I think that just lends more credibility to everything that you do when you have the major names in the hair industry behind you and supporting you. And it's something about hairstylists. They always have dogs. What is that?
I don't know.
They do.
Well, we understand it. We're just a very the culture overall is just a very caring, very loving about all creatures. And so I think dogs are just a wonderful extension of that.
And do you think they're your part psychiatrist a lot of the time? I don't know. I kind of feel like that.
You
with
know what?
hairstylists.
That is a trusted area. That chair.
That's right. That's right. What happens in the chair stays in the chair. I understand, but it is a trusted relationship. But I'm excited about people knowing that you're in town and that this event is going to take place.
I'm excited.
I do want to take a few minutes to go over some other things happening in October. On October 5th through 7th. Pray Beauty will be sponsoring a Free the Shelter event at 4 shelters in the country, and we're privileged to have been selected by the Kathy Kangas Foundation for Animals. She is the founder of Pray Beauty, and she appears on the Home Shopping Network, and they will be sponsoring all adoptions at the shelter, all the fees, October 5th through 7th. And then on Saturday, October 13th, we'll be down at The Grove, a beautiful community down in College Grove, Tennessee. They'll be having a bluegrass festival and opening some of the new homes that they're opening in a new area. There'll be vendors, pumpkin patch, and we'll have adoptable animals there. And all the vendors are giving proceeds to the shelter, so I encourage you to go down to the Grove. Look it up at groveliving.com. It's easy to get to off 840, and it's a beautiful community. You'll enjoy your time there on Saturday, October 13th for the Bluegrass Festival. Then on the 27th, as we mentioned, we'll be down at Pumpkin Fest as well in the window of Walton's Jewelry Store again, and we thank them for allowing us to do that. We'll have either puppies or kittens running around in the window of the jewelry store during Pumpkin Fest on the 27th. We'll also be doing a rabies microchip clinic at the shelter that morning from 9 to 11, and then we'll have our BarkAID event with Patrick on Sunday, October 28th from noon to 4 in the back parking lot where Classic Sports Barbershop is, behind Sweet CC's at 105 5th Avenue, north in downtown Franklin. You can't miss it. If you'd like to adopt, I hope you'll come by the shelter at 106 Claude Yates Drive, just next to Franklin High School, or become a volunteer. Go to adoptwcac.org and check out our volunteer opportunities. Our next training class, our orientation class for volunteers, both dog and cat volunteers, will be October 24th, and you can get that information there. Come and find out what our volunteers do and how you might be able to fit in. And if you'd like to donate something to us, we always have needs at the shelter. Right now we need kitten formula and enrichment items like Kongs for dogs, and that's a chew toy you can get at PetSmart. But if you want to see our entire list, you can go on Amazon.com. Patrick, thank you so much for coming and telling us about BarkAID. I hope the people in the community will be ready by the end of October for a fresh haircut and benefit the shelter. And I hope you'll be with us next time on Pet Watch.
If I conferred with our furry friends, man to animal, think of the amazing repartee. If I could walk with the animals, talk with the animals, grunt and squeak and squawk with the animals,